I'm Laura GB, and in this video we're going to look at copying a file from SharePoint into a Lakehouse in Microsoft Fabric using Power Automate. So let's start by having a look. We've got our SharePoint library here. Okay, it's on our Fabric demo site and it's called Documents. And we want it, when you add a file here, Power Automate automatically copies that file into our Lakehouse here, into this folder called From SharePoint. Okay, so what we need to do is we need the URL for that. We're then going to make a HTTP request using that URL to make it copy the file across. So what we do is we click onto the three dots into here and we go to Properties, and then over on the right hand side here we can see we've got a Properties pane and there's a URL, and I am going to click on that one there for copied. Okay, so I've got my path, I've got my SharePoint library. Let's go and create a flow. So here I am inside a solution, and I am going to go New, Automation, Cloud Flow, Automated. And I'm going to call my flow Copy to Lakehouse, and then I'm going to search for File is Created. And what I'm looking for is when a file is created, Properties Only, a SharePoint connector. So on the SharePoint connector, so we then click Create, and there we are. We're in our flow with our trigger at the top here. So under Site Address, click into here. I'm going to go and pick my Fabric demo site, and then my library. I'm going to pick Documents. Folder, don't care about, not having any subfolders. So that's the first bit done. That's my trigger. The next part is I want to get the file contents. So we're going to go a new step, and I'm going to search for file contents, and there we are, SharePoint connector again, get file content, and that site address is going to be the same as before, and my file identifier, if I search for ident, there we are, up comes identifier. So there we are, we've got our 2 steps done. Okay, so that gives me that part. Right, the next part is I need a path for that file. I need to build that path, and the easiest way to do this is in a compose step. So I'm going to paste into there the part that I copied from the Lakehouse. Okay, and then put in a /, and then off my dynamic content I am going to look for the file name, and I want file name with extension. So there we are. There is the full path to our new file when it exists there. Okay, right. The next part we want to do is our HTTP request. So we're going to go for a new step, and we're going to do a HTTP request pre-authorized. So actually the best search in here, having done this a few times now, is to search for pre-auth. And there we are, invoke a HTTP request with Microsoft Enter ID pre-authorized. And when we click into there, this is the first time I've done this in this environment, so therefore it's asking me to set up the connector first. Okay, so this requires a couple of details. Okay, 2 URLs. The first one comes off the beginning. If I look in the compose, it comes off the beginning of that part there. So we can put into there that first part, one lake, etc., etc., up to the .com. The next part is what's going to accept my Enter ID. Okay, so I'm going to, this one here, and although we're into Fabric, it's all Microsoft, okay, and things overlap a lot in this world. So we're actually going for storage.azure.com. That works quite well. So we can then click Sign In, and when that completes, we now get to put the details in. So we're going to do this in 2 parts. The first part is to create a blank file. So I come into here and I do a put. Now all the details of this that I'm doing the instructions here are all in my blog post. Link is below. The URL for this request is going to be what's in the compose, i.e. the path to the file, followed by $resource equals file. Now we're going to do another new step. And this, again, search a pre-auth, invoke my HTTP request. And this time we want to add the file content in. So we're going to do a patch. And the URL, again, comes off the compose. And this time the extension is a little bit longer. But it's okay, I've put it on my blog post. You can copy and paste it from there. It's putting in, basically append the details starting at point 0, because hey, it's an empty file, and then flush equals true. And then the body of the request, we're going to put into there the file content. Okay, so that's all of those parts done. Right, and we are ready to test. So I'm going to click save and then head back to my SharePoint library, and I'm going to upload a file. I'll drag and drop fruit.csv. Okay, and I want that file copied into my Lakehouse. So let's go back to our flow. And inside my solution, I'm going to click on it just so I get to this page here, which gives me kind of the overall part there. And if I do a refresh, it'll take a couple of minutes because Power Automate is not instantaneous. And eventually up it comes, and there we are. Our flow happened. Okay, and if we go in and have a look, we've got green ticks all the way down. So now let's go and have a look in our Lakehouse, and let's just do a refresh. And there we go. There is our fruit.csv, and if we click on it, we can even see it's got content as we expect. So that was copying a file from SharePoint into a Lakehouse in Microsoft Fabric using Power Automate. I'm Laura GB, and if you haven't already, please press subscribe. Take care now.